Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Object Worship. I just enjoyed Brady's face on that. Yeah.
Wait,
This is a new bit we do where Andy plays an
It's not a
unexpected
new
song
bit.
under. Well, but it's maybe
It's
since
so
Brady was on
old.
the podcast, I don't know, or maybe he was. Okay,
He's
welcome
never
to
listened.
Object Worship, the podcast where we talk about how the tangible helps us create the intangible. How about that? Serious business. We're an interesting podcast. I'm your host, Dan P. Hotchek. I do like DSP code and like firmware and whatnot on pedals, and then
Brady, change your face. We're on video.
what kind of rights do we have to be playing crippling alcoholism right now?
it's what's the fair? It's fair use because we're saying A+ song. This is the review of the song A+.
Okay.
It's true. We probably should express more opinions instead of just laughing and being like, "That was fun."
Well,
No,
that's
great
an opinion.
song. I mean, I'm just surprised. It's definitely a mood setter.
Yeah, no, I told Dan I had something that would set the mood for you.
Shit.
Okay, so I think I told everybody who I am. I'm joined by Andy Othling.
Hello.
Your other host. He's also a pedal guy. Listen, we talk about guitar pedals. We make a podcast about guitar pedals. We make a podcast in general about, creativity and whatnot. And we haven't done one in a little bit. It's been a busy couple months, and part of that has been the lead up to the new version of Black Fountain, which came out yesterday as we're recording, 2 days ago as you're listening.
Ding, ding, ding.
And so we figured we would just do an episode all about it. It's the first pedal that Old Blood released and then went through V2 where expression with soft touch switching and stuff was added, V3 where it got a tap tempo update, and then now the V4 or stereo version, which is like just a total overhaul but built around the sound that you still love. So we're just going to talk about that overhaul. And
You do love it.
got-
We know you love it.
you know you love it. We know you love it. We're also joined today by Brady Smith, the man, the myth, the legend, the man behind the curtain. He's been there from V1 to V4. Welcome to the podcast, Brady.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. V1 to V4. The last version. The final version.
I noticed you said that in the newsletter. Why did you say that?
Because it better be, right? You know.
Yeah. Let's
But
take
couldn't
this
you
one.
have said that for any of the other ones too?
I don't know if it would be true, but I think we decided early. We decided early on with the Black Fountain, this revision. When the idea started, we were like, "This will be the last time we do this to this pedal."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were talking about how it was like the 10th anniversary was coming up, and maybe we could do something special. Maybe we could do like something with Black Fountain, and so then we started spitballing ideas of like. I think initially it was going to be more simplified than the Dark Star. Like it was like maybe it doesn't need presets and like full MIDI suite, but it can be stereo and do like we'll soup it up a little bit, and that'll be like a send off. And then the more we talked about it, it was like, or maybe we just soup it up fully, and it's like, yes, it's the final version, but hopefully it's a final version that we can sell for years to come because it'll.
I was telling someone I feel like the timing is right too, or like it's been long enough that it makes sense, or there's been enough improvements in general in pedals, features that people are thinking that they need now, and not that that's wrong or anything, but it's been such a long time that like now we can add those features and be like it's done now. Like maybe in 5 years there will be some feature that people need that we don't even know exists yet, but as of now it's like I can't think of anything else that should be in this pedal. Like even with all my stupid ideas, you know.
Well, I think the ongoing conversation that we have with that is if like you can come up with a new idea of what a pedal is, do we need to package it as a Black Fountain pedal or a Dark Star, or we're at a point where we are implementing sort of this new UI across the board, and the discussion, especially around that time last year when it was 10-year-ish, I mean, last summer, is if we wanted to actually reinvigorate these different pedals by those names, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So in 5 years, if there's something that this needs, let's just not call it Black Fountain. Let's call it, I don't know, something.
Yeah, it feels like this is everything you could want to do with the Black Fountain sound.
Yeah.
And we even ran into this at certain moments, like during development, where it would be like, well, we could make it do this, but then it doesn't sound like Black Fountain anymore. Or,
right.
you know, like when I was first messing with the modulation, it went way too fast. It was like ring mod speeds of chorusing, which is very cool.
Yeah.
But like so not Black Fountain that it was just like, this is just beyond what it should be, you know.
I remember specifically when I played one of the first prototypes of it, like one of my notes was like, hey, what would it sound like to have the modulation go into audio rates? And you were like, oh, I already did that. It was awesome, but it's not for this pedal.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got it.
It's for something else. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Dan, good job. It's a good pedal.
We jumped right into it. Is that appropriate? I don't know.
I think for this one, yeah. Like normally,
highly appropriate.
Normally we'll have the guest in and it'll be like, I don't know, we just chit chat for a bit, then we take some voicemails, and then we like interview the guest about their object. For this one, it's just kind of all about Black Fountain. So we should probably could
chit chat about.
Should probably get to voicemails before too long, but
I
also want to acknowledge that I also went down to LSU for the Summit for Adventurous Electric Guitar in the Gulf South, which was
very
just a variety
specific. There's about 10 people that fit into that Venn diagram of all those words.
And we all did presentations. No, but I was invited because the professor that was organizing it is a composer and does a lot of interesting like work with like Max DSP as well as pedals and stuff. A lot of just like digital sound manipulation. He had gotten into Darkstar and was interested in kind of the MIDI implementation. And so then asked if I might be interested in doing a presentation on like sort of how Old Blood in this new era is approaching like DSP and MIDI implementation, and how like the way that we're turning into a forward-looking pedal company for 2025. Like when we started in 2013, we were doing FV1 pedals, which were like, there were, a handful of companies doing that and sort of pushing interesting boundaries with those. 10 years later, the FV1 doesn't feel as boundary pushing as it used to be. It's more like deeper control. People want higher fidelity and MIDI and presets and all this stuff. And it's like, it kind of feels like we are now finding the Old Blood approach to these new technologies. And so because of the timing of it, I ended up basically doing the presentation all about the evolution of Black Fountain's technology, because it was going to be coming out a couple weeks later, and we had already kind of soft launched it. We'd shown pictures of it, and I think maybe you guys had done the live stream like right before.
Oh yeah,
we're planning. I don't know, but it
may have been right that day or the day before.
Honestly.
Friday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I was traveling down that day. You guys did the live stream, and then I did the presentation at LSU the next day.
Right.
But it was interesting to look at how V1 came out in 2014, and then V2 of kind of everything was 2016. V3 was 2020, and then, so it's like the gaps between versions just started stretching out. I think V3 was 2020. I might have to fact check that, but I think MTET was later, and MTET had a little aside in the middle of the presentation about the first MIDI stuff. But so it was interesting that it's been like, 4.5 years since kind of what felt like the final version. It was like, okay, we added tap tempo. Expression is a little bit more. This feels like a pretty full expression of what Black Fountain is.
Yeah.
But then over time we realized, okay, there's sort of one more frontier, one more like expansion of it that we can do. And so that was,
And again, like the timing of it is interesting to me because especially with the new enclosures and like the decision to do MIDI in like an eighth inch jack. I don't know if we would have made that same decision like 2-3 years ago even, or it would have been like a harder one, I think, or like, do we do 5-pin or 1/8 inch? Like, I don't know. But because of the timing now, it's like, no, this feels pretty right to do it like that. The TRS stereo feels good now. It's not so much of a weird thing. It's still a little weird for people, but
it's still a compromise in some way. But it's like, some companies do TRS, some companies do dual TS. For us, for the form factor we were aiming for, TRS was the way to go. And these new enclosures with Partner and Darkstar and now Black Fountain, that timing kind of works out because it's like there's a metal shop in Norman, Oklahoma, like half an hour down the road that suddenly had the capability to do these custom enclosures. So it was kind of perfect timing where we needed a different form factor to be able to accommodate all those jacks and like the way we wanted to do controls. But so there wasn't an enclosure that felt like the right size. And so I feel like if we had done this a few years ago, even if all the like inside technology was the same, the case either would have been a lot bigger or the control set would have been a lot smaller.
Well,
or it would have been like side MIDI jacks and would have been.
And I appreciate how even in that conversation of just like how many knobs can we get on here in space, but just leaving room for the art too. Like that's always been a consistent thing. And I know I've been there for conversations where you're like, this needs to visually be reminiscent of the old one, which it absolutely is. So I guess I'm going towards giving Blake some praise, which I think he did what's the artist name again? Who did the actual artwork?
Nathan Price.
So Nathan did a great job, but also Blake doing the colors and the layout and like, I don't know. He did so many little revisions and making sure you can see the little subdivision markers and whatever. And I don't know. It from my perspective, it felt like a really, I don't know, not streamlined, probably not the right word to use, but it felt like all the steps were like, oh, everyone's doing their thing and everyone's like nailing it.
Everyone was focused on sort of what they needed to be focused on to make it as good as it could be.
Also, just to verify, it took me that long to figure out that it was 2021, the Black Fountain.
Oh, it was 2021. Okay.
It's like 10 minutes ago.
Nice.
In my head, I think of it as being a very pandemic thing, but maybe it was like in 2020 we started working on it, and then 2021. I mean, because obviously 2021 was still very much in the thick of it, but just so that makes sense. 2021.
Brady, Black Fountain's the first pedal from Old Blood. So like the company starts, you have the one pedal out. How do you gauge the success of your company off of one pedal? Like a week after release or a month or 6 months after release? Like,
well, I mean, so back then this would have been summer of 2014. And it was just Seth McCarroll and I, and working out of the shed in my backyard of our house in Norman. And we spent all summer kind of like getting the project together. And then the first bulk of invested money from us was to make 100 units. Of the first Black Fountain. And
that's so a lot for a first run. Well,
I mean, yeah.
Not.
I don't know. 2 guys out of the garage. Like, we had no dealers, and nobody knew who we were, so it seems like a lot. But we tried to budget enough to be able to make 100, right?
Yeah.
We didn't like make 100 and then have them ready to go and release it. It was a pre-order, and that sort of helped kind of float things to the next step and the next step after that. So, I don't know. It felt, I think, selling anything when you're going from 0 to 0.1, basically.
It's an infinite increase in.
Yeah. It's like that anybody cared or was excited. 2014, different time. So I think that I guess that's not necessarily true. It feels like people had to take a little more of a risk on what you were getting back then.
Right.
Based on like the sounds available, or, they couldn't try the product anywhere. So they honestly couldn't really hear it anywhere except from us. So I don't know. It was selling any of them felt like a success, and that's just cool.
It's so funny to think back to I know we've talked about it a lot, but that Coffee and Riffs where I was there, when you had the Black Fountain prototype and Dan was there too. I don't know. That's just, there's a part there, my brain goes like, yeah, that was all of us, but like I almost can't like connect, be like, I can't connect there because it's such a different world. Whatever.
Yeah, it's very, very different.
I don't know.
The goals were different back then, right?
Yeah, what was the goal back then?
I think to feel good about having a job and being a business, right? And to not have a boss that didn't feel good to work for. That was a big motivating factor at that point, I think, for a lot of people who started working at Old Blood for the first 3 to 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And then, you live long enough to become the villain. So now I get to be the boss that people hate. So there'll be at least one good company that comes out of Old Blood. That.
Dan, how's that Calamity Drive doing?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's money is on Dan, but I'm trying to keep him here.
This is why I'm always very much like, the Calamity Drive is to fund Plain Speak. It's good. We're all good. It's just, it gives us money to head into the studio. I swear I'm not trying to start my own thing. Technically, I am starting my own thing, but I swear I'm not trying to leave and do my own thing.
That's good. That's good.
It is funny 2014 feeling so far away, but also like it should feel so much closer than it does. Because when you talk about that Coffee and Riffs, and I'm like, okay, so I'm working at Mammoth Electronics, and it's cool to work in pedals, but I'm not doing interesting work, and I'm not making much money, and the boss is the worst. Well, the boss is great. The owner's the worst.
Yeah.
And and I guess that's 2014. So
and I was
working on our first album. That's another. I remember borrowing a Black Fountain for the Plain Speak album release, because they came out right around the same time. Yeah. And I just like, I knew you guys, but I wasn't working for the company yet, and I just thought it'd be like, I was like, can I borrow the demo pedal just to mess around with during our album release, which is also a very funny energy to get into, of like, so I just threw that pedal on my board and was like, this will be my delay tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which now it would be like, no way would I just throw a pedal on the board and figure it out live.
Yeah.
Speaking of throwing the pedal on the board, Blair texted me from Eastside. What's up, Tyler? Tyler, you want to be on the podcast?
Tyler's on the podcast.
Podcast.
What's up, dude? Say hi to the pod.
Hey,
Say hi to the pod.
We need to have Tyler.
what's up, hogs?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We need to have Tyler for real on the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's on the very first test episode, which we will never release.
Yeah,
for
episode
various
0,
reasons.
where we were just testing things out, and
He'd be a good one, man.
He'd be really
He
good.
knows a little bit or a lot of bit about almost everything. So
Yeah. What was I saying before Tyler rudely interrupted us?
We were just talking about the sort of microcosm of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Microcosm. We
Not
were
the
talking
hologram
about
effects microcosm.
I do love that pedal. Yeah. I don't know. I was gonna say something about how now Dan, look at you. You're like, I'm designing the new Black Fountain and finding sounds in it and then putting it on your board. Like,
and that is, yeah, it's wild to think that then, yeah, once I got my grubby mitts on it, I was like, what if it could do this? And then it turned into a thing that was like, now I've always loved the Black Fountain. It's been like on and off my board at various points. And now is the version of it that's like, oh, this can do so many different delays that I can just have that on. That can be the delay pedal on the board.
oh no, I remember I was going to talk about Blair from Eastside because he texted me.
Oh yeah.
The other day because he's a big fan of this pedal, and a couple of days before the release, he texted me. He's like, "Yo, I got this on my board, and like, I think there's like a MIDI bug with it. Like, I can't access preset 1 on my MIDI control." He sent me this long video. He's like, "Oh, I can't get," and then like 5 minutes later, he goes, "Never mind, figured it out. Wasn't sending the right message." so it was just one of those like, man, you could just throw this on your board, but with someone like him, he's like, no, I got the controller with the MIDI and the clock sync, and like, boy, yeah, you can't,
dude.
Some situations you can't just toss something on there and go, you know.
That was fun to talk him into the controller and everything. Tyler
you
actually
did that?
Well, yeah.
Oh, look at that!
Kind of.
Oh,
It's
wow.
the East
What a
Side one.
moment.
Tyler, that's what Tyler was dropping off. I'm gonna see Blair later today, so
How?
I'm taking that to him. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll just see him.
Ow. Is that can you show the color of that right now?
Yeah. It's just
Because that's kind of like exclusive.
Exclusive. Yeah, it'll probably be out by the time this comes out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I guess we should we talk about how we're on video now? I guess if you're watching us on video, you know it's on video. But
well, if you're listening to the audio, know that there is a video component now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
we're at least aiming to make
Brady loves it.
one of those video podcasts.
Yeah, it's great.
Dude, the black switches are so good.
He loves them. They're fine if we have them in stock, but
I was about to ask where you got them from, and then I was like, maybe that's inside baseball. But
I mean,
I'll
that's
ask
the only. Yeah, it's Sun Tzu, I think, is the main.
or I was going to say, yeah.
Oh, the Art of War.
Did we get them from the same place we get our normal switches? I guess, yeah. That would be the right way to ask that
question. No, but Sun Tzu is the one who distributes them. We don't buy enough of them to get them from them.
That's
but
cool.
yeah,
that's cool.
They're cool. It's in that army green.
He's gonna love that so much. That guy.
I hope he likes it.
Yeah. To the listener, again, this pedal just came out, and there's 3 colorways from us, but also some really cool dealer exclusives. There's that East Side one. There's
Relic.
I think Relic's got one. So
yeah,
be on the lookout. There's a lot of cool Black Fountains out there.
I bet there will be a Pedal Empire one in Australia at some point.
Nice.
So.
Nice. My only other thing I want to say is I now have 25 yards of hook only Velcro. So I hopefully will never ever buy. I kept going to Lowe's and buying, the both sides Velcro, and then just basically throwing away the non-hook side,
the soft side.
So I was like, God. So 30 something bucks on Amazon for 25 yards of hook only Velcro. And I think I'm going to be good for a while, folks.
Because you just go hook to hook, right? Is that all you do?
No, I like my boards already have the
soft
other
side?
The soft side. So I get new
loop
pedals
side.
and I only ever need the hook side.
Interesting.
So
very interesting.
Just throwing that out there. Texa Crow.
I've gotten sold on the dual lock system.
I'm not on the dual. No, I'm not
dual
with
lock's
that.
Great. It's great.
It's great if you don't want your pedal to ever go anywhere after you put it on. But I'm doing too much on and off.
Yeah. Or if you're moving it somewhere.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah. Anyway, is it voicemail time?
Yeah, let's get into some voicemails. I feel like we've talked a bit of history. When it's just the three of us, where it's like we just chit chat forever, and it's like, oh right, this is a podcast.
It's freaking boring.
Clint, all I really want is Clint.
No,
I don't know if we have
that's
Clint
not
voicemail or not. But
we got to do this one first, right?
505 on Hogs. That's the line for you to call.
All right, here we go. We've got a few. Here's the first one.
Hey, Andy and Dan. This is Under the Glacier. I'm a hog from Wisconsin.
Hog under the glacier? Boy, we've got a Neolithic hog. I don't know.
Really love the show. First time caller. Been listening for a while. 2 questions. First, a music question. What are some unique uses of the Black Fountain you've seen, like placement in your pedal chain, ways it's been sequenced? Non-music question. What's your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie?
Ooh. Okay. Dan, I feel like you had a really, right before we got on, right before we started recording, you had an interesting Black Fountain sound that you were like, oh
yeah. Should I show the sound?
I feel like you should. Because when you
got audio
you got on the call and immediately played this thing, I was like, oh, he's playing some prototype of something that I haven't heard yet. But no, it was just Black Fountain.
Oh.
See, Brady perked up there. He looked up from his phone. That was awesome.
So, as we said, I made this pedal. I wrote all the code, and I didn't realize it could make that sound.
Yeah.
So I was doing a stereo thing with it the other day, and then just kind of moved some knobs around. So it's like high feedback, very high modulation. So like rate is low, depth is very high. Time L is all the way down, and time R is, I don't know, a little bit up, like let's say 10 o'clock. And so it's doing a thing where like it's in mono series mode, so one delay feeds into the other, and so it's just basically it's modulating downward and upward, but like pushing and pulling as it feeds back on itself.
And that's kind of a result of the two modulations are inverted, right, from each other, the left and right modulations.
Yep, yeah, that's my favorite stereo trick. Dimension chorus. That's what makes a dimension chorus sound so wide. But when it's in series mode, it's actually there's another little trick so that it basically modulates once. So this is like having just one is feeding into the other and only modulating once as it feeds. So if I put it in parallel, now you hear both of them.
Ooh.
Or wait, no, that was just a single repeat. That was too far down.
Too far.
There we go. That's parallel. So you still get a bit of it. But you get like it's just a very different texture from putting them in series.
It doesn't sound like a normal modulation. It sounds very synthy, or that would respond really well to just like a really intense pluck.
Yeah. I would. I don't think I have it rigged up enough to show, but I was playing around on the Osmos into it yesterday, and those textures are just giving a little synth noise and then just letting it carry on. I also sent you like a couple months back a really funny sound where running this into like a I think it was the Kraken model on the Quad Cortex. It was like heavy amp model with like heavy noise gate. but this like super rhythmic delay that just like I would just like hit one note and it would be like do.
Yep.
And it was so
That's
sad.
what's up. Yeah, so any other, what about you, Brady? Any other interesting uses for Black Fountain you found?
And I was just thinking about how much I don't like delay pedals.
Brady, what's your favorite? When you pick up a telly and you play into a delay pedal, what do you like to play?
This is actually, because I feel like this has come up on like live streams and stuff. Like it's like Brady doesn't like delay, but Brady, at least as far as I know, likes Black Fountain. So
I do.
Maybe this is a good.
So
area to
my
talk
question
about what makes
is,
it
what
different
the
from
heck?
classic delay?
What the heck? Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I don't know, maybe there's just specific delay sounds that I don't like. Not even just in Black Fountain, just in general, right?
Yeah, like the classic like dotted eighth rhythmic thing. Or like
Yeah.
Or just
maybe
the
I'm
brightness of it?
I may just be bad at math to the point that like I can't do any sort of subdivisions like in my head. I don't know what, I've got no reference for them. I'm like, okay, I did dotted eighth. I don't know. That sounds like it probably like
Ever heard of U2? Ever heard of this guy?
I have, and I can't even hear the delay. It's just all one thing. Like how do you? Because it's all like it's rhythmic.
What the hell?
Oh,
This is
you big
crazy.
U2 fan? Oh yeah, you're praise.
No, I just you
You're
said,
praisey worship. Yeah, I got it. I got
Jesus Christ.
that's what he said.
That's what I said. You're praisey crazy. So I don't know. I think that like the songs that the present songs, like that's how I use a delay. That is just classic. That's where I'm going to wind up every time. And I'm comfortable there. And Black Fountain does it just right.
What does that mean, though?
I don't know. There's a little bit of rhythm to it, but it is.
Is it?
Go ahead.
Well, you say rhythm. Do you like the delay syncing up to the whatever you're playing to, or you like it to be a little like out of sync?
No, whatever I'm playing to has to sync up to the delay. So
but you don't want to do a dotted eighth version of that ever?
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
To me. That's so funny. That's so funny. I don't know.
I know what it means, but like I don't know what it means through my ears. I mean, that's fine. All right, but yeah, you're trying to find it.
Yeah, I am trying to find it.
Okay, so go to the next subdivision. What all do we have on there?
No,
I don't have it in front of me.
I don't want to do that.
Why? This is why delays are.
Well, I don't use them that way. I don't like using them that way.
How do you use it?
I love not having it. If there's a tempo to the song, I love it specifically not lining up to it.
1, 2, 3, 4, play.
This is so good.
For the listener, we are using internet technology to record the podcast, so you may notice that.
We weren't doing that before.
Okay. But honestly, like I understand what you mean by that. You want something that fights against the natural rhythm of what you're doing, of what the song's doing.
Yeah, well, and especially I didn't think about this till now, but in my usage of delays previously, I like to use two of them. And if I was just gonna pick two, it would be a analog voice delay into a tape style delay would be ideal to me, and both those would be unsynced, and I'd mess with the times so that if I play a note, like you hear this bloom of delay stuff go back, but it never lines up with anything, and you just kind of just disperses out like the most undiffused reverb ever, kind of. So you lose track of the tempo of the delay itself, like almost instantaneously, is what I want.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I do feel like I'm describing a reverb, but
Basically.
But yeah, but then the Black Fountain kind of does that. Like I was gonna say, like earlier, I've generally with stuff like this, I'm like, oh, I can use it in stereo. Well, then let me use it in stereo. But like, there's some really good reasons to use this pedal in mono if you want to. Specifically, the series thing that you're talking about, Dan. Like,
yeah,
that allows you to do that. Like yes, you can do a rhythmic like dun 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 dun, dun, like galloping kind of rhythm, but you can leave them unsynced and you just get this like, feels like a fractal or something where it just keeps going back in time, but without a repeating pattern, kind of. Like, that's the kind of stuff I like.
It makes new stuff.
Yeah.
New stuff by changing. Yeah.
I feel like I'm in that same zone where it's like you are using it like a reverb, but it doesn't act like a reverb. But the key to it is that you don't have a sense of rhythm. It's like, and I feel like this is a really classic, like people who use just like a really simple analog delay pedal, just one repeat, a little bit of feedback mixed really low, so that it just adds like that little bit of sustain to the note, but it's not like the pad of a reverb or the clear delay of like a timed high mix thing.
Yeah.
But I found that whenever it's one repeat, I kind of can't help but hear the rhythm of the feedback. Like no matter how short or long, it's like it's like my ear just grabs onto it. And so like you using two delays or doing the series, that was like the moment where Black Fountain kind of opened up for me. It was like realizing, oh, if we have a stereo delay in mono, that means you could just use both lines, running one into the other. And then immediately it was like, because it's also kind of dark and a little bit modulated so that it just doesn't jump out in any way. It's like, yep, that's you can just leave that on as if it's a reverb, and it just gives that gentle continuation without like getting in the way of what you're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This pedal specifically, it gives you that nuance underneath that doesn't fight against what you're trying to play with. But I was gonna say the settings that I'm drawn to on it. One is the sound on sound, kind of like mode that you can do where within that you're just gonna be playing with yourself, by yourself.
Excuse me.
But that's great. That's like meditative in a lot of ways, and so you can just go different places and let it guide you there. The other sounds that I like, and I have to have it in front of me, and I have to like tweak it. I haven't memorized where things are setting wise, but it's Hunting for Bears from Radiohead. Is it Amnesiac, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and you can get that sound of that guitar, and it makes me so happy. There's that, and then there's also a song off of it's Hunting for Bears, right?
Yeah. I don't know Radiohead really, so
dude.
Oh,
no,
that, like,
I mean, it's
the gritty
it's
part?
No, it just starts. It's the main guitar just from the beginning. That.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could ramp the tone knob to really get that too.
Yep.
And having the grit in there to be able to get that distortion along the way too. It's like you wouldn't even,
Yeah, one of the first cool things you showed us, Dan, I mean, it was last year at some point, was doing the thing in mono mode where your first the time left is set to 0, and then your time right is obviously longer. So it's basically your first repeat is acting like a preamp, and like you're distorting your signal, and then there's that slapback repeat.
Because you can set the time down to like 6 or 7 milliseconds or whatever, like the shortest time, so you can't really feel it. You can't quite feel it, at least, and then you turn the dry signal all the way down. And
that's cool. I believe Blair was there for that moment. He was like, he loved that.
He was, yeah. I remember showing that to like slightly buggy prototype to people at the Effector Market in Oklahoma City. But it was like, what, 2 weeks after Darkstar had come out, so it's fun to be able to be like, also Black Fountain is like, 80-90% here.
Right.
Okay. The listener also asked for our favorite Paul Thomas Anderson films, and I've been trying to come up with an answer, but I want to have Brady answer first.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Brady. 2 things there. Okay. One, the other sound is, man, I'm too slow for podcasts.
You're doing so good.
But Identikit by Radiohead, if you want to just go do this for me, go to 348 on that song. Identikit. It's on a moon-shaped pool. And then, meanwhile, I'll say There Will Be Blood is got to be. It's at the forefront right now. I think I rewatched it on the flight back from Japan, maybe.
You said 3 something?
348, and this little solo at the end starts. And it's this like, you're going to have these guitars, yeah.
Is that not a dotted quarter note?
I don't know, but when you're listening to it on shittier speakers too, it's great because you're getting the real like pull back and forth,
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
On that, it sounds, in these headphones, it sounds awesome and better, but it's not such a distinct thing, but on the Black Fountain, you can do that where you've got such a great separation between the delay lines that like, I don't know what it is. I don't get it. I don't like delays. I don't like delays. What's the timing? Whole note? Is that it?
Yeah, just say whole note.
One for one?
Yes.
1 for 1.
Where we go one, we
Sorry.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
There Will Be Blood for me.
Well, that's Paul. Okay. I have to look up all the Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
I'm trying to Resident Evil.
I feel like is there a Paul Thomas Anderson Resident Evil connection?
What is that? I don't. Yeah.
Who's the director?
Oh, he did Punch Drunk Love. That's good.
I feel like thinking of watching movies on planes. I started Magnolia on a plane ride like somewhat recently, but got like, I don't know, I got a little bit of the way into it, and then the flight ended, and I had it was like had a layover, and then by the time it was time to plug back in, I was like, why am I watching Magnolia on a plane? But as I recall, that was a really great one. But I don't think I have a favorite.
Oh, Paul W.S. Anderson is Resident Evil.
It's a different
W.S. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I knew it wasn't Thomas, but
huh. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at the list now, and I guess my favorite would have to be There Will Be Blood, because the only other one I've seen is Punch Drunk Love.
The Master's really good.
The Master was good. I did see that. I haven't seen Phantom Thread. This is good content, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Let's do that. Right. What's the next voicemail?
Let's move on to the next voicemail.
Yeah,
what do people want?
Let's see. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna start with this one.
Hey there, partners. Old Ike here, calling in from the desert. I've just been wandering around after getting out of some legal trouble a few times back, and just happened to catch a few broken snippets of your little radio show over the airways.
Oh,
I've never been so excited. I never heard of a podcast that covers this subject, but there's a few of us crazy zealots out there that we're so much into it, I can't even tell you. I love objectifying warships. Oh boy, I don't know if you've covered these topics before, and I haven't had the reception enough to listen. But how about them how about them cannons on the Yamamoto? Oh, that's what I'm talking about. You could shoot a Volkswagen out of those babies. And how about the hull on the Bismarck? You could bounce a quarter off that cold rolled steel, boy. I tell you what. I like big battleships, and I cannot lie. Well, I'm about to listen to my first episode, and I just can't wait to hear what you paragons of the sea are going to be objectifying this week. Watch out for them voicemails, partners, and I bet I love what you're about to be saying.
Objectifying warships.
I can't wait to hear what you'll be saying.
I bet I am about to love what you'll be saying.
Oh, Old Ike.
Thank you, Old Ike.
Is that a new...
We're big fans of Old Ike.
If that was a new character that called in on the show a lot, I would really love that. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next voicemail here.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's not much.
Hey there, partners. Well, it's Old Ike again.
Okay.
I listened to my first episode, and boys, well, I tell you what, that's egg on my face, okay? I appear to have misheard what this little podcast is about. Not so much objectifying warships, but object worship. It's fine. It's no big deal. I got out of the pedal game a few towns back on account of some deceit and betrayal, so I'm not really into that anymore. But, well, Sam, Dandy, you boys have fun, and I'll see you on the trail, partners.
Thanks, Ike. Wow.
Thanks, Old Ike.
Yeah.
Well, he figured it out. And,
he caught his own.
Yeah. And, sounds like
mistake there.
Sounds like he's still, still kind of a fan of the podcast, even though he's not, not really in the game anymore.
Not in the game.
He really, honestly, he didn't have to call back to let us know, and I'm glad he did.
He's just that kind of guy.
He
did not owe that to us.
So that's all. Well, Ike, if you want to keep calling in, we will have to make you a theme song, and I would love a reason to make another theme song.
Yeah. But, thanks for calling. Hopefully you'll listen to this episode as well, and
or watch it.
Watch this episode.
I don't know
if you have I don't know if you have YouTube out there on the trail.
You may not have the means.
Yeah, that's true. He's constantly out of service. Yeah.
He said something about picking up the radio transmission of.
Yeah, it is.
Podcast,
it is.
So.
I did have a lot of fun setting up the shortwave radio tower here at my house. Is that what we use?
Yeah, it must be in New Mexico.
Yeah, so really, Old Ike must be like in a pretty limited range of your house.
Yeah,
so
he must be close
there somewhere.
I should go outside and Ike.
Digging in your yard right now.
Ike, no, that's a gas line down there. No.
All right, give us another one.
Next one. Yeah, here we go.
Hey guys, congratulations on the Black Fountain.
That's
I do have
Dave
a question
Jordan.
though.
I know that voice.
My old V1 Black Fountain, I actually bought from Jamie from Earthquaker. So does that mean that I need to wait for him to buy the new one and then eventually get rid of it so I can get his again? Or do I need to buy it and then he needs to wait? A dozen years or something for me
11.
to get rid of it so he can have one?
11 years.
I'm just not really sure, how the rules work. But, yeah, let me know what you think.
Well,
Brady?
Yeah,
what
we
are the
gave
rules around this?
We gave that to Jamie probably in 2014, so.
And he clearly was like, get rid of this.
I mean, he held on to it for a while, it sounds like, but.
Sounds like it had a good run.
Maybe, unless Dave got it in 2015. That's fine.
Well, Dave, I would say there are no rules, but usually put the reverb blast in the compressor first.
Yeah. Good answer. Good answer.
That's just going to be my generic answer whenever anybody says, what are the rules about pedals? That's whatever they're asking.
Compressor before reverb.
I break that rule immediately.
Oh yeah. I mean,
no compressor, reverb first.
We're the company that makes the Dark Star, which is famously a first in chain reverb. So
yeah. You brought this upon yourself, basically.
I don't remember that, but
I only remember it.
I don't remember bringing this upon myself.
Working on the new Dark Star, and people being like, "I like to use mine first in chain," and me being like, "Really? How?
What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reverb that I'm running first is like a Boss RV5 or something. So it's the most basic. Is it?
It's classic.
It does.
Are you in modulate mode, or are you in another mode like some freak?
No, it's probably like just spring. Is that a mode? Spring.
It is a mode, but
Plate.
to have RV5 and use something other than modulate mode is very funny.
Yeah. Or just Hall.
Yeah,
Hall
that's
mode.
that's funny to me to do that.
Everything at noon.
I mean,
I suppose we should also say, I'm just realizing, before we get too far out of this voicemail, Dave, you should definitely, like everyone else who's listening, buy a Black Fountain right now.
I mean,
done.
Buy it, steal it, weasel your way into getting one.
Remember that System of a Down album where they called it Steal This Album?
Yeah.
What if you made a pedal called Steal This Pedal?
Feels like a much more physical labor than stealing the album because it was all digital, right? At that point.
No,
Isn't that the whole premise?
Oh,
probably.
Yeah, I guess so. I just remember seeing it in Hastings, like, oh, this CD says Steal This Album,
Wasn't there like a Steal This book? I feel like Steal This Album was a riff on a pre-existing thing. Let me surreptitiously Google while we continue.
Yeah, you do that while I...
Oh, yeah. There was a book called Steal This Book, written in 1970.
It's 1970.
The Notorious Radical Survival Guide to Living Free as a Revolutionary from one of the greatest activists of the 20th century. It says an Amazon blurb that comes up early in my Google search. Okay.
That sounds good.
This is a podcast. Let's
This
do
is
the
a
next
podcast.
voicemail.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm not paying attention. All right. Here we go. Okay.
Sweet pig.
Old Ike again?
No.
Giving a call. It's been a minute waiting for that podcast.
Okay.
Figured I'd just throw it out there. What's a good reason to buy this thing? I've been buying a lot of pedals lately. That mystery box stuff came through, did some trades, did all of this stuff. The pedal company's got my money. What makes me want to get this? Plus, what is an oil can delay? I don't even really know what an oil can delay is.
What is it?
Can you explain that for me, Dan?
Okay.
Dan explains it all. Okay. Thanks, guys. You're all awesome. I love you. Okay. Out.
So this guy out the gate declared that he did the mystery box, but he was so unsatisfied with it that he traded it.
He didn't say that part. He didn't say he was unsatisfied.
Dude, trade.
He just said he's just pedal companies have all his money. I think he's, I don't know. Okay.
Well,
I want to fix on the what's the sound of an oil can, because when I did the Dan Explains It All, I just said something like, you probably haven't played one. I never have either.
Yeah, you haven't either.
No. You said haven't heard one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've never been in the room with one.
Yes.
So
I've never gone on a
that
date
caught
with
my
one.
attention too, but you said I've never heard one, you probably haven't either. And I was like, that is verifiably false. You've definitely heard one.
An actual oil can one?
Yeah. I'm sure there are recordings of it that you've heard.
There's never been a recording of one, I don't think.
I've
just kidding.
probably pulled up a demo or something like on YouTube, but I feel like
I need to pull
or maybe
something up
it's
right
in
now?
a song. It's probably in a song at some
It's probably
point.
in a radio.
It just feels like that was a misleading comment.
Well,
Very misleading, Dan.
Listen,
Would you like to apologize now, Dan?
I saw the edit where at the end it looks like I am stuck in a hammock, and I can tell you, I did a comedy pratfall out of that hammock.
And they didn't use it?
They didn't use it. They made it look like I was stuck. They showed me rolling back and forth. So listen, I'm going to say there were a lot of misrepresentations in that video. And until we're ready to all shake hands and apologize simultaneously, I just want to ask my question, which is, Brady, have you played an oil can delay? Can you tell us about it?
I never played one. I think I've heard it, though. I must have heard one at some point.
Because I know
Tyler
if I
have played one, actually.
Tyler mentioned having one, but that it was like, I think it shocked him and was just it was like the classic story of they're dangerous.
There's no replacement oil for it. There's no like process for updating it So yeah, I think that they sound a lot like what the Black Fountain sounds like.
I think this is what's interesting to me. I should have said, you're right, I should have said I've never played one, and I would like to apologize. And Kylan, I will be expecting an apology for... Just kidding. You made a funny edit. I just
those grievances
wondered
are
how
actually
awkward
with Kylan, not everybody else. It's just
I just needed to pull somebody in from outside of this room to force the hand of like, I can't apologize until something external happens.
Kylan is the person to do that too, because he won't ever come on and stuff like this too. So we can just throw him under the bus all day.
Yeah.
He'll never listen. He'll never know.
True. That is great.
But there is secret. Like an interesting thing where basically my concept of oil can delay comes from like Black Fountain or like Catlin Bread had one.
Yeah.
There's like a small handful of pedals that do an oil can sound. JHS just came out with like their 3 Series one, but they all sound different from each other. Like they all take a core idea and then do it differently. And it makes me realize that like in that way, I've never like in a sort of pure way heard an oil can delay to be like, oh, that's what an actual oil can delay sounds like, like probably have heard it.
Well,
I can't even think of a time where I've like watched a demo of one. Probably.
Okay, well, how about right now? I have one queued up. Audio demo, Morley rotating sound synthesizer, vintage oil can delay, vibrato. Ready?
Okay,
here we
listener, key in and tell us if we got it right.
Did we get it right?
That is.
It's real hot.
You're clipping my ass off.
Sorry. That's warbly. The thing he's playing is massive. It's like it looks like it weighs like 20 pounds. It's got that edge to it.
What he just played was wild.
I would say that the old Black Fountain or the new one could get this sound much better than the old one because of the vibrato.
There were some vibrato-y sounds in the old one.
But just because it was that single knob, couldn't really dial it in as much.
Definitely, yeah.
Dan's going for that sound now.
Yeah, it's pretty bright. The original Black Fountain was super dark, so I dialed this one a little bit dark, but no, his sound was pretty...
yeah.
Dial back.
Yeah.
A little bit more feedback.
Need more depth on that. Turn the depth up a little bit. That's closer, yeah. Did we answer this guy's question? What is an oil can delay?
I mean, he's hearing it.
Yeah.
I'd say it does the thing.
Yeah. Nailed it.
There's
Check.
a little bit of like a weird harmonic thing to it. That was interesting in the original.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically you can like read up more on the exact technology of it, because this is another thing that I don't fully understand. But it's like some sort of rotating drum where oil is involved, and it's a mechanical style of delay. So similar to how, like, with a tape delay, you have degradation over time, both in the tape and just in the machine sticking and things like that. It creates this specific character in the way that it degrades, so it has unintentional modulations and stuff like that. Whereas I think with the oil can delay is like it's rotating in a way that the modulation maybe is more intentional, but it still has those mechanical elements that wear down and create sort of, I don't know, different degraded textures and accumulates grit over time and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a delay that is modulated, a little bit gritty, often pretty warm, and sounds real nice. So that's what Black Fountain was going for. Or in my case, I was taking the FV1 algorithm and maintaining the core of it while expanding the control set.
But that's not as fun to market. That's not as fun. Okay, this next voicemail seems similar question.
I'm just gonna pause for. I know Brady. I think Brady had a hard out in about 5 minutes, so I'm just checking to see if that was hard out.
Yeah. I will need to do that.
Okay. So I'm gonna say Brady, thanks for joining us, and then whenever you need to hop out, you can just hop out. But before you just have to disappear, I wanted to acknowledge, appreciate you being here for all this.
Love it. You swayed me. I love it. I love delays. This is great.
You heard it here first, folks.
Check out a Telecaster next. It'll be awesome.
Tyler showed me one he was working on yesterday that was like pretty cool.
There we go.
It's happening.
I would never play it.
Okay, let's see what this voicemail is.
Hey guys, it's Rosie. I'm curious to know if you could use any kind of oil in an oil can delay. What kind of oil do you reckon would be cool for different tones? Alright, cheers. Bye.
Your favorite oil. Let's go with, what's your favorite oil?
What did he say at the beginning? Hey guys, it's what?
It's Rosie.
It's Rosie.
Oh,
okay.
The Google voice says Rosie, but I don't know.
It does say Rosie. I couldn't tell if it was Rue or Rose. I feel like there's a Rue on our Discord that I at some point thought was Rosie.
I'm curious to know.
It does sound like Rosie.
Oh,
okay.
I thought, hey guys, it's Rue here, but it could be, hey guys, it's Rosie. So it's probably Rosie.
Google says Rosie, and Google's always right about everything. So.
Okay. Well, hello, Rosie.
Olive oil.
I was gonna say just like an everyday olive oil. You're cooking with it. You're putting it in your salad dressings. It's.
That Ranger pedal that you can put like a fluid into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, is that thing? Obviously, that thing is real. But like, if you put oil into it versus. Like, I'm just now wondering if you did put different types of oil in. Like, my joke was going to be like, oh, I would choose the oil that's like left over after McDonald's French fries. Like, what would that sound like? I don't know.
Just like coconut oil, something that's more like butter.
Yeah.
As it melts.
Yeah, definitely an oil that solidifies when it gets cold.
Lard. Is lard? What is it?
Gelatin. A gelatin delay?
Dude, I bet there's good warble in gelatin delay.
Yeah, because it would be when you touch the pedal, it'd be like...
Our new physical modeling delay that's based on the motion of Jell-O when you tap it.
What effect is it the air inflatable thing at like a car dealership that's blowing in the wind?
Oh. What's
I don't know,
the effect representative of that?
What does it sound like? Yeah. If you were able to put that into the pedal, into the liquid pedal.
Question. I mean,
in my head, it's like a dual modulation because it's like the body is kind of moving slowly while all the fringy bits are like really flapping around. So it's like,
but it's got to be kind of an assault on the senses too, because it is. So there's some aggressive movement.
Yeah, the depth is super high for sure.
Yeah. I feel like the thing that's coming to my head as a representative of that is the Benson Florist.
Okay.
Because it has the separate modulation for the attack and release. So I just picture it And if you do it too hard, it goes, whoa, it like freaks out.
The harder
like
you play,
breaks
the more
in
it freaks
half.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it gets stuck on something.
Yes. Yes. The pedal loves to break in half. It gets stuck on. Brady, you have time for one quick thing?
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Clint. All I really want is Clint. And I like the way he calls. And it's chill to hear him talk. And I can always make him smile.
Hey guys, it's Clint. So, I know Black Fountain is great, and it's really awesome seeing all the demos out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only been able to play the original a few times, but I have no doubt it's just as great. But what I want to see though, like it's a little bit, it has nothing to do with what y'all are doing, like the EP and such. But I want to see more videos of everyone else in the whole Wild West thing, because seeing Isaac in the Black Fountain video, it was just the best thing I've seen. It's just too good. Have more Joey, have more Isaac, Fly and Dan. Andy, you should do it too.
Okay.
Damn. Whatever's next.
Don't tell me what to do.
Procession or in that new format. I don't know. Change the whole thing to be Wild West again. I don't know. But yeah.
It's just digging the vibes right now.
I've got immediate thoughts on this.
Maybe sometime this year, maybe December. I don't know. But yeah. Hope all is well. See you guys.
See you in December, Clint.
All right, Clint. Firstly, you established that you're not interested enough to buy the pedal in its V1, V2, or V3 form. And then you want to weigh in on the budget for the marketing? But you're not even fly Dan in, fly Andy in. That stuff costs money. Find a Wild West town. Find a bunch of people and extras and days. You know what, Clint? No.
You know what, Clint? That's
a fair and measured response.
Yeah. You know what, Clint? No.
It's
I also like that he said
good
whatever's
idea,
next, whether it's procession or whatever.
Yeah, just make everything Western.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I do have to agree. Ike was on this episode earlier. I would love to see more of him. I'll just say that.
Well, Isaac is the Walton Goggins of our generation.
Yes. Of our generation, yeah.
Our generation, I don't know.
What's his generation?
Our cohort, yeah.
He's a little bit older. He's a little bit older. But and he kind of came into it when he was a little bit older. Like now is the time of
it's Ike's time
of Walton. And no, I think Ike's time will probably be in about 10 years. He'll be like White Lotus season 14.
Yeah.
So
you were talking about who's going to be the person that starts the thing coming out of this. It's not going to be a pedal company. It's going to be Isaac's
acting career.
Yeah.
And he just he brings along his team. Like Gabe is his.
He's going to get into like Civil War reenactments and stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, Clint, I'll just say this. Good idea. We'll do it.
Yeah, you just wrote that down. I saw him write that down in a notebook. I'll look at that later. Okay, bye, Brady.
Bye, Brady.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, it's just the two of us.
Yeah,
boss is gone.
Just the kids at home. No parents around.
That was the last voicemail, though. So
okay, Object Worship is a production of Wolf.
Well, no. I feel like I haven't played much of the stereo. You've done a little mono.
Show us some of your favorite sounds in Black Fountain.
I mean,
I do think maybe we kind of rounded off here. We've enjoyed the voicemails. We've told a bit of the story. I've talked a little bit about like some of our favorite sounds in it. So yeah, man, show some fun stereo stuff. Let's see what comes up.
Yeah, I love that there is now rate and depth control individually. And I'm a fan of low rate, high depth. So like you can tell there's modulation happening, but it's like imperceptible what the actual speed or depth of it is. And that's like pretty high feedback too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think more often than not, I just turn rate all the way down and depth all the way up.
All the way down. See, I've got it at like 9 and 3.
Yep.
Rate at 9. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then turn space all the way up. I remember Stefan in the Pedal Zone video got a really good like distorted reverb sound in there.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I keep saying it's not a reverb. And so I loved in his video when he was like, and it's also a reverb, because it's like, honestly, yeah, it is. I just don't want people to get overexcited, but it's a nice little reverb.
Like that, yeah. I mean, it is a reverb. You can't say it's not a reverb.
Yeah.
It sounds like that. Then what if you add Dark Star to it? Oh my god. Now we're talking. I mean, but that's the textural thing. The slapback stuff is really good.
Yeah, I mean, slapback would be like the classic use of kind of oil can delay.
Right. But it just occupies, I mean, the whole thing about it being oil can is just like the space it occupies is so different than where your guitar lives. And the wet down just a little bit.
Is that space knob still up?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I was like, still sounds so reverby.
Yep. But even still there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that just gives it that extra stereo width too. Like,
yeah. That's just nice. Here, let's do only wet.
Yeah, and that's that preampy thing where it just sounds like it's just warm, a little gritty.
That's that like Radiohead kind of sound Brady's talking about. You gotta do that thing, you know?
Yeah. And that's another thing that is something that people don't think about with like product development is something as simple as the way that a time knob sounds when it changes. Like you experience the difference across pedals, but you don't think about like the kind of work and decisions that go into that, like how to smooth it out, how quickly to have it catch up, how much.
Yeah.
And so it's like with the old Black Fountain, there was a lot of like zipper noise and stuff as you changed the time. And so especially if feedback was high, you would hear the kind of pitch sound of the time moving, but it would be in addition to this sort of like crackle zipper noise thing. And that noise would just keep repeating. Whereas here it's all just the time modulation stuff which I'm like really happy with.
That stuff maybe sounds boring, but even personally, I know that those sort of, I don't even know if you'd call it a feature, but just like the way the pedal works is can be like make it or break it for people. Like I know like the El Capistan is the reason it's one of my favorite pedals is because my usage of it ignores one of the things that annoys people about that pedal the most, which is when you hit the tap tempo, it doesn't do a clean change to tempo. It does the like woo, the spaceship thing. And like most people don't want that. They're like, if I tap it in, I want it to just get me to the tempo without any weird noises.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I love that pedal, but I just can't use it because of that, which is like fair enough. But I'm well aware of how people are like, yeah, the time knob has to do the spaceship thing the way I want when I run it down, which is fine.
The spaceship thing is so important. And that's also funny because that's how tap on Black Fountain works too. Like you tap in a tempo and it fully space shifts. Because I was like, I don't know. It's just that because once you've dialed that in where like any change of the time does the spaceship, you're kind of like, okay, cool. That's great. I didn't realize that was the complaint.
Well,
about the,
I'm now
the
thinking
LCAP, but
it's either that or it cuts out the delay totally and restarts it at the new. That might be what it does, actually.
I was going to say that would be the only, at least first thought, the only way to avoid that would be to essentially clear out the buffer and just say, okay, now like we zero out everything and reset the time and restart there. So you would lose whatever's feeding back. Because otherwise it's like, do introduce a noise. If you slowly move the time and linearly interpolate, then you'll do the pitch shifty thing. If you snap the time, then you'll just have like a little click, a moment of discontinuity. You could probably like briefly mute it and switch it without having to clear out the whole buffer. That's probably like the cleverest solution.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what Mood Mark II does when you change the time on the delay. It's like you hear, like if you're sweeping the knob, you hear the volume kind of dipping in and out, just like it's masking the discontinuity.
Yeah.
So that's probably the move. Actually, you don't have to clear out the whole thing. You just have to. There'll be a little dip in there.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that it doesn't feed back.
Yeah, I assume that's one of those things where you spent a little bit of time getting the core sound of Black Fountain, and then the last 10% is all of those little things, getting the time knob to sound right.
What's funny is, in this case, that was actually one of the first things, but it was only because I knew that while developing everything else around it, I wanted to be hearing the right time knob changes.
Yeah.
And that's also one of those things that, like, sort of once you have that in place, your delay line structure is kind of locked in a way where you can, as you're messing with depth and rate and things like that.
Yep.
I was just going to try to dial in, like, kind of the sound we were talking about earlier where you have, like...
the preamp type thing?
The short repeats where it's just like, oh, this is just the delay that I leave on all the time that you kind of forget is there after
yeah.
a bit. Yeah, so something like that was, it's like it has a rhythm, but you dial that down enough and you kind of lose, you stop playing to it. Versus
sounds so good.
Yeah, and it's like if you hit something and let it trail off, you're like, oh, there's the rhythm, but
yeah,
as it is, it just kind of lives underneath.
I know I already said it, but I'm very surprised with how much I want to be in mono with this pedal, given that it does have the stereo capability, because I've truly never used a pedal before that had a feature in mono that it doesn't have in stereo. I think. Not that I can... no, that's not true. Screen Violence is like that. You can double up on the overdrive circuit if you're not in stereo.
Oh yeah, because you're just sending one into the other. Yeah, I guess it's the same theory of like, well, we've got two in here. If you're only doing it in mono, may as well give the option to run one into the other.
I just think it's cool because I a lot of people probably think you're sacrificing something for mono, but you're actually gaining something in this in this case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are sounds in there that, like the parallel delays where they don't feed back into each other. Like you can't do that in stereo because it's just the feedback always ping pongs. You know, so there's some mono tricks and some stereo tricks. I was just gonna try to find the hidden dimension chorus sound because we were talking about that modulation. So there's a way if you turn both the time knobs all the way down, and have some modulation, and you're in mono and they're parallel to each other. That is basically what a dimension chorus does.
Yeah,
and it's just like you wouldn't expect that from Black Fountain, but it happens to be there.
And then you have the rate and depth control still, which you don't in a dimension chorus.
Yeah, so you could get. Bring in some feedback and make it like a resonant dimension chorus.
I feel like this pedal would really be at home in the late 90s in a bunch of recording studios. Ooh.
But yeah, that's just one of my favorite secret mono modes.
No longer a secret. And I was watching Emily Hopkins, harp demo of it, and I was amazed how good the attack from the harp strings sounded with the grit control.
I still need to watch her demo. On release days, there's two modes. There's one mode where I want to watch everything, and there's another mode where I just want to like go about the normal day. And yesterday was like I kind of don't want to. I don't know. It's like sometimes you're in the zone of like. It feels a bit like reading reviews of the thing, even though demos are, that they're gonna like largely show it in its best light. They're still gonna like everyone's gonna have their own take on it, or there might be things that they're not as much a fan of, or that it's like seeing it reflected back. Sometimes you're like, I don't know if I want that experience today, but I did end up. I watched the Dan Explains It All and the Old Blood Presents this morning because we were going to be recording the podcast, and I was like, I need to know like what we've shown
the
people.
Pedal. Oh yeah.
And I watched the Pedal Zone demo, but then I need to go watch.
I mean, if you sat down and watched them all, it'd be like 2 hours of your time. So
got to dole it out over time for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should maybe wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that was Black Fountain.
Let's do the plugs, and then we'll officially plug it, and then plug some other stuff too. Here we go.
Let's do the plugs. Yeah, plugs. I love the plugs. Give me the links. 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 Give me the links.
Hit me with those links, fam. So, oldbloodnoise.com, number one, duh.
Number one, oldbloodnoise.com. Buy yourself a Black Fountain and some other pedals and t-shirts and all that. But you might also have a dealer near you if you're, maybe you're in Europe or the UK or Japan. Or check your local dealers, and if they don't have it, maybe tell them.
I mean, if I was a listener, I would maybe be keen on that East Side version with those black switches. Like that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
So that's at East Side Music Supply, and I just want to say, okay, first off, well, I'll do this plug too. So we have a whole new system for the podcast. We ditched Riverside for people who are interested in that. I have moved over a system completely based in something called Video Ninja, VDO.ninja. And it seems pretty janky at first, but it is incredibly powerful and free and awesome. So that's what we're using. It basically enables us to do this video for free. So if you're watching us, hello. If you're just listening, you could go over to Old Blood Noise YouTube and watch the whole thing if you want. Alongside that, because I've learned so much about this, I've also applied a lot of this stuff to the stream that I do a lot of evenings playing Fortnite, and also you can play my YouTube guys, most of which are way too not for this podcast. But yeah, that's twitch.tv/power economy. That's what I want to say. Twitch.tv/power economy. And it's very fun, and we're making the stream very silly and cool. So that's it.
I guess I just wanted to say, like, to the listener as well, because this is the first, like, kind of unannounced break we took. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is some people's first episode. If so, wow, you made it to the end. Welcome. There's a bunch of great episodes in the back catalog and more to come. And then just for all the hogs that have kept us up with us, thanks for listening, and we're gonna get back on it. I've got some exciting episodes coming up, and feel free. And
it's even easier for me to edit now. It's so good.
Yeah. We're gonna hopefully get back into a rhythm with it, and join us on the Old Blood Discord. There's a channel for Object Worship. If there are guests you'd be interested in seeing on it, or just thoughts on what might be interesting, what you find good and cool about this podcast. We appreciate that. When Brady says, like, "Hey, I got a couple emails from people wondering where the podcast went," I go, "Oh, okay." So it's nice. It's not just that people like it when it's around; it's that people miss it when it's gone. And so it's nice to know that it's like, okay, cool. You folks seem interested, so we'll keep doing it.
The hogs want this slop for somehow. I don't know why they keep eating it up. All right, are we ready to?
I think we're closing it out. I think that was the Black Fountain special episode.
And last thing, you made a new outro theme that we're about to hear.
I did. You said I should make some music for the podcast, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's
I was like, okay, a new task. So we're gonna end the podcast here and listen to Dan's song. All right, here we go, folks.
Wow. Object Worship is a production of Old Blood Noise Endeavors. All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the company. It's edited and mixed and overall technologically set up by Andy Othling.
Yes.
To get in touch, you can join us in the Old Blood Discord, send a message to our various online entities. We're around. It's the internet. You know how to use it. So go forth, use, create, be